Good afternoon, everybody. Your cruise host, Jason here, and thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of All Access Pass. Whether you are here live in our studio audience or whether you are watching back in your room, this is our second installment of 6 of these that we'll be doing this week. Tomorrow, we will be I actually have the Beach Boys on All Access Pass tomorrow. Forget those guys. They're tomorrow. Today, we've got this group of fantastic women all on one stage, and I'm going to do my best to get through this quickly so we can get to talking to them. We have Peggy March, we have the Chantels, and we have the Marvelettes. Please give them their due right now for all the things they are. I would like to, as I said backstage, and I mean this is not just for an audience, I truly, truly appreciate all of you coming out to spend a little time with me and us and sharing some stories and being here on the cruise. I know the Malt Shop Cruise is a unique experience, and I know not everyone's on their first one, but whether it's your second, your third, or your first, it doesn't matter. It is a unique experience every time. And anybody can tackle. In fact, Peggy, you'll lean on you first since you're closest, and then we'll move on down. What's it like being on the Malt Shop Cruise with all the folks that know, remember, love your music as much as they do?
As soon as I open my mouth, everybody knows who I am.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, and of course I have to be made up every time I walk out the cabin. I mean, no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun meeting all of you, and some people I've known from other cruises and other shows. One man came up to me and said, "Oh, you were in Ohio in 1963. Do you remember?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry. But was it good? Yes, it was then fine."
And I remember, yeah.
Exactly. No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Always nice people. And the nice thing about these things, I'll make it short, honest, that you're having a good time as soon as you walk in the door. So, I mean, we don't even have to work hard because you're already loving it. And this is so easy. I find it that way. I find that it's so easy because it's great. You guys are already great. You're already singing the songs, so I don't even have to open my mouth because you already know all the words. It's great. No, it's great.
Just have the band start behind you and let them go.
Exactly. That's it. So it's wonderful. I'm having a great time, even though it's a short trip.
Absolutely. Ladies, please continue on down the line. Any of you, anybody. What's the cruise like? What's it like coming out here and being with just fans and friends and people that are just so excited to see it? Anybody can tackle, please.
Speak up.
I'll say something. It's like a dream come true to me. First of all, just to have the honor of representing our big sisters, being a Marvelette, and then being among people who enjoy the Marvelettes' music. First of all, because of course we do, when we enjoy being able to represent and perform it. So, I want to thank you all for being so open and welcoming. And that's the best part because this is our first time coming on it, but it feels like home already, actually. When are we coming back?
Yes, ma'am. It all depends on the success of the interview. So, strong start. Yeah, strong start. No, obviously we love W. Please.
For me, it's like not being amongst strangers. It seems like we all know each other. We've all grown together, and we know the music, and it's like coming home. Because everyone knows us, and we really know you.
We just felt like everyone was like family, right? I mean, we walk around and we see you guys. Everybody's been pleasant and just wonderful. And we just need to thank you all for just being so gracious. How many people usually make these Malt Shop? How many people? Can I have a show of hands?
Yes, ma'am.
If this is not your first time.
Not.
There we go. So it's like family.
Ohio, aren't you?
Because
serious.
It's not our first time, and since we've been coming, everybody's been gracious, and I just have to know how to stay away from the food.
Stay awake.
The more cruises you do, you learn to bring pre-cruise and post-cruise sizes of clothing. Yeah, some to wear on the plane here and some to wear on the plane home, and they're not the same thing. Yeah. As always, ladies, something that I do, and I haven't sat with you, so forgive me, I'll explain it briefly. I always offer the audience an opportunity to write down questions because I want them to feel involved and as they're a part of it.
Are they easy questions?
They are. We'll start with math. I used to allow a live microphone in the audience, and I learned very quickly that that's not a good idea. We get into the weeds real quickly when we have a live microphone. So I will ask some questions here from the audience, just to kind of get us moving. George comes to us from Baltimore, Maryland. His first question is for the Chantels. How did the group decide to form a singing group, and how long has the group been together?
Lois, I think that's a
Should we
good one
pick
for you.
50 or 60 years?
About 60.
You said 50 or 60?
A little more
That's
than 60. More than 60.
Oh,
But we
I don't know.
started as choir
Over
girls
60.
in our church choir, St. Anthony of Padua, in the Bronx. And after we got out of choir rehearsal, we noticed that guys would be singing on the corner. And we said, well, we can do that. So we would start singing on the corner as well. And then people said, oh, there's a contest at this public school. Would you take part in it? And so we would go to these contests and we would come out winners. And then we decided, well, this seems like it's official, let's be a group. And then we had to figure out what the name would be. So it's kind of a crazy story, but we sang Gregorian chant, C-H-A-N-T. We played basketball. Sonia, I think Renee, Lee played basketball.
CYO.
And we used to beat,
Oh, yeah.
there was a Catholic school in the vicinity, St. Francis de Chantal, and we used to beat them. So C-H-A-N-T-A-L. And then I knew that to sing in French is chanter, and chanteuse is a female singer. So we put it all together. They called me up, Sonia, Jackie, and Renee called me and said, what do you think we should name the group? And I said, well, all the three things that I have just told you, I told them. And I said, so let's figure out what. And I think Sonia says Chantel, and we said, yeah, let's keep it French, Chantels, the Chantels. Well,
Nobody keeps it
that
French.
sure got flattened out. So people started calling us the Chantels, and we didn't fight it, but only a few people still call us the Chantels, and we love it.
Chantel. George, I'm gonna pirate your question for all three individual sets up here. So Marvelettes, I would pass that to you as well. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to form a group, about the beginning days.
Well, the original members formed at Inkster High School in Michigan. Originally, it was big sister Gladys Horton, and they entered a high school contest, basically. And at the time, she gathered Catherine Anderson Schaffner and some of the other ladies together, and basically they wanted to sing, and they didn't have a name, so the first name that they came up with was the Cassignettes. That was the name, and it was short for Can't Sing Yet. And so they wound up not winning the contest, but their music teacher took them to an audition for Motown. And so they met Berry Gordy, and Berry Gordy said, hey, you guys aren't ready right now. You need a hit song. Go back and write some music or whatever, come back. And an older girl, Georgia Dobbins, basically went and a gentleman and her penned a song called Please Mr. Postman. And so the ladies sang it for Berry, and they recorded it, and it wound up becoming Motown's first #1 hit back in 1961. And from there, oh wow. It was very interesting because they were so young. They were about 15 years old when that happened. And so once Berry put together the Motown Review and they toured the country, when they hit New York, and I believe that was the first place that they had gone, New York was big fans of the Marvelettes already. And they said, Marvelettes, Marvelettes. Down at the Apollo Theater, they were chanting for the Marvelettes to hit the stage. And what Barry Gordy had to do, he had to call back to Detroit and said, I don't care, just get them here, basically. And so that's how they got on the tour, and the rest is history. They have
Musical history.
Yes, they have a long repertoire of hits, and we're just honored to continue the legacy.
How'd you get the name?
The Marvelettes.
How they did decide on the name?
After all of that, I forgot to tell you
Can't
that.
sing yet. They could sing at some point, so from can't sing yet, that had to go to.
Right. Well, originally, Barry Gordy named them the Marvelettes. And so later on, years later, our big sister, our big sister, Catherine Anderson Schaffner, and big sister, Gladys Horton, won the rights to the name. So they owned the name. And we were picked by Catherine Anderson Schaffner to carry on the legacy. And that's what we do, and we're honored to be here. And we are honored to be able to interact with you as well. You know, it's a joy to talk to so many people who enjoy this music. And it's important not to let this music just fade off into history. This music needs to be kept alive, and I'm grateful for all of you keeping it alive, as well as all of these ladies here.
So how did we settle on the name Peggy March? How'd that... Tell us about the early days.
How did we? Well, I'm not a group. I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm not a group. No, I was 13 when I signed with RCA.
Yeah.
So I got to RCA. It wasn't my doing, believe me. I was 13. I didn't know. It's from a hole in the ground. But the former manager got me there. And Hugo and Luigi were my producers, the same producers as the Tokens.
Yeah.
And my piano player that was going to help me get through this audition did not show up, so I sang everything a cappella. For me, that was a normal thing. And they thought I was cute. Of course, I was little. I was tiny. I was 4'10". So they named me Little. Peggy is a nickname of Margaret. I don't know if anybody knows that. I begged my mom, why did you name me that?
Why
I couldn't think of
Margaret?
anything else. Yes, why Margaret? All right, fine. And March is my birthday. So they didn't like my last name, which was a nice, long Italian name. Really quite simple. And March became legal at a certain age, which is okay too. And yeah, so that's really was very, very easy. And I was part of the RCA stall, if you will, part of them for a while.
But I mean, please, you can clap for that. Yeah, please clap for that. And I Will Follow Him is 63, is that correct?
63, yeah.
So you were pretty young.
I was 14 when I recorded it.
14,
Turned 15 by
okay.
the time it went to #1. Actually, it's in the books that I'm the youngest female to ever have a #1 hit record. So, and this record still stands, and I don't know why it has never been broken.
Yeah.
I was waiting,
Yeah.
but it got to be 60 years last year before, and it's 60 years ago. It's amazing. Doesn't cease to amaze me that it's actually that far back.
It has to feel, and I know some of you are continued on the legacy of the music. Obviously, you were not necessarily original members, but we do have obviously a lot of folks who have been there, some originals. It has to feel pretty amazing, and this is certainly aimed more at the people that were singing in the 1950s and 60s. It has to feel pretty amazing to walk out now, to your point of earlier, and start a song, and here we are 60 to 70 years later, no offense, 50 to...
No, it's absolutely true.
12 years later.
Yes. 2 minutes!
I hate to age somebody. And people are still so enthused and ready and excited, and they know your lyrics, and the Marvelettes, it's got to feel similar. You know, I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same continuation of the music. What's it like to walk on stage? I know you said it's great, but for Peggy specifically, when you walk out and you start any song, but certainly your song that everybody knows you for, and the crowd loses their mind, does that still fill you up?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It never ceases to amaze me that it has this longevity. Sister Act helped to research it. They did not use my version, which means they didn't have to ask me. And Lou Christie, who's a friend of mine, he said, Peg, you got to go to the theater. You have to see this movie. And I said, why do I have to see it? you go and you'll know right away. Of course, the opening scene is I love him, I love him, I love him. So Whoopi Goldberg is singing I Will Follow Him. And a lot of people who don't remember the 60s were surprised that I'm actually the original recording of that
Sure.
song. And it was a real resurgence. The funny thing is the Europeans, and I go to Germany often, I'm often there, and they didn't know that I was that person, that kid who sang it originally.
Well, and I think there's an honest part to it too, which was nobody realized you were white in the beginning.
Yes,
correct? Like,
actually, I went to number
Right? I
one
mean,
on the
yeah,
R&B charts.
it was the
in
R&B
63.
Billboard chart.
Yes, which surprised the hell out of me. And I found out that listening to Casey Kasem one night, and I was in the car, and he said, the number one song for 1963 in the R&B charts was Little Peggy March. Get out! So I didn't know it either. So it was a big surprise. No, they didn't know I was white. You're absolutely true.
Well, can I just say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you asked why? Am I the only white girl back here?
Yes, well, that's only one reason.
Yeah. We didn't know she was white either. We just thought we put a whole panel together, and here we are. We stumbled into it.
But before we go any further,
Yes, ma'am, please.
when you asked the question about how the group started,
Yes, ma'am.
I really have to apologize because I neglected to say that Arlene Smith, who was our original lead singer, really handpicked us for the group. There were lots of people who sang and not quite auditioned,
Sure.
but we ended up with the five of us: Jackie, Renee, Sonia, and me.
And she went to my mom to ask my mom.
She
if I
asked your
could sing.
mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
have
But
permission.
black
That's
people,
how young
forgive
we
me,
were.
with all due respect, black people are born with a good voice. They have rhythm. We have to learn all that.
Oh, you got to get there. Everyone's got to get there.
This is true.
That's amazing. That how do you build a group like that? How do you plug together, and forgive the inaccuracy of that term, voices that don't compete but supplement and build off one another? It's so easy to put super voices together, and that's why super groups rarely go very long, is they compete with one another.
It's a crazy
For the
thing.
Chantels, yeah.
As Lois, she spoke about getting on the corner and singing. Well, the gathering place for us was in the choir. You know,
You learn to
choir
harmonize.
practice. And so when we left choir practice, we had to come to the corner of Prospect Avenue and make a left. Well, we didn't go right home. We were singing, and what we were doing was taking the chants that, you know, the nuns, Sister Ann Joseph.
Do we all go to Catholic
I
school?
think everyone went to Catholic school,
Yes. Sister Rich and Marie. And we took those songs, now we're going to do it in 5 parts. We just left a choir, maybe 30 people. But that one in Gregorian chant, we had to do it in 5 parts.
And the other thing, Sonia, is that this was the time when you had music like Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers and all the groups singing. It was like a new time, a new birth for rock and roll. And we were all doing it. Everybody was singing it. We were singing in
wasn't.
hallways. That's you. And you grew up in another place. But in our neighborhood, in New York City, where the Bronx, you know, we were all teenagers.
Yeah, on the corner.
And
That's
we
where
were
you go,
singing.
right
We
on
were
the
doing
corner.
a lot of doo-wop harmony. We were singing in hallways, wherever we could find an echo. That was the key thing. The echo
Stairwells.
was important.
Yeah.
Subways.
The echo was important.
I sing Ave Maria in every church in Germany, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Because it sounds good. Yes.
But you need to hear Naomi sing Ave Maria.
Oh,
Okay, so stop.
wait a minute.
Which version? Schubert? Schubert's the only one.
Yeah.
Now, we have different experiences in how we all got started singing to begin with, but as a group, you know, Catherine Anderson Schaffner, she decided to put together the Marvelettes again, you know, after many, many years had passed. And she and her daughter decided to seek out some vocalists in Detroit. And she found Dolores first. And Dolores is a friend of mine and Brenda's. Now what's you're right. in order to find people to sing, to do this kind of work, you have to find people that will work with the costumes, that can do the movement, that can blend vocally and understand, because if you're a lead vocalist, that's one thing, but you have to be able to hear harmonies as well, and everyone is not able to do that. So it's
That's right.
it's
That's a
more
skill.
than it's more than a notion, right, ladies?
Yes, oh
Yeah,
yes.
so we were able, and if I may, I just wanted to make one other comment. It has nothing to do with the singing. I just wanted to thank you guys, you know, because you're keeping this music alive, and you know, this generation of you know, technology kind of is a wonderful thing, but it kind of keeps people a little bit separated, but you understand live music. We understand live music, you know, from that generation, and you will come out and support. You understand the music, and we can feel you. You're just as important as we are. You know, the audience, if we're not receiving anything from you, we can't do as well as we can do for you. So we appreciate and thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping this music.
Very well said.
All agree with that.
I think, you know, as a newbie in the group, I think it's fair to add one more ingredient to the mix, and that is practice and rehearsal. I'm lucky enough to have my mother teaching me the notes and the harmonies and how to blend. But during the pandemic, I think she was over at my apartment maybe every other day just running songs, and that's how I learned 20 of the songs and the harmonies that are embedded. Even today, we found ourselves in the cabin, just singing together to make sure that blend, that tone, that feel was authentic. And sometimes it comes down to the feel of it, right? Sure. Does it feel right? Not just does it sound right, but does it authentically feel right? And it doesn't work until it feels right for
I don't
us.
know if modern music is like that. Feeling. Honestly.
It misses that.
Modern
It
music,
does.
Right?
modern
It
music
misses
is
Modern
that.
music.
It misses
Modern
that.
music is rap.
Yeah, right. It's missing a little.
Which is
a little-
what
it
it's
is.
a little of the-
But if I may briefly, and you're all far more educated than I am in this field, certainly, I think one of
Older
the,
than you.
well, there's more. I'm trying to say it in the most polite ways possible. Peggy. That you have experience that I don't have. What we've missed in today's music that wasn't missed in your day is the woodshedding. It is the fact that you do have to perform on street corners. You do sing in subways. You do sing wherever you get an echo. You can't just go into your bedroom and cut a 10-second out record that then gets played and viewed by 36 million people on social media or YouTube.
We didn't have.
Exactly.
We didn't have
Exactly.
a laptop.
Exactly.
That helped. We didn't have the equipment that
Digital,
actually
I mean,
digital and
digital
changed the
sometimes.
note, and so if you were flat, all you had to do was push a button. Oh no, auto tune.
Auto tune and
We
pitch
didn't
tune.
have that. We
Yeah.
had a radio.
Yeah.
That's all we
Which
had.
is fabulous, and I still listen to the radio today. I
Yeah,
love
see,
it.
we had to sell 100. We had to sell 1,000,000 records to get to number one. They don't have to do that anymore.
gonna ask
5,000,
Peggy.
you got a number one record. Hell no!
Peggy,
It was harder then. It
with
really
Motown.
was.
Peggy, we have a question for you.
Yeah.
For me,
How long did a recording take just to get through one
Oh.
song?
I had 13 takes for "I Will Follow Him," and I was in a booth because
Oh, yeah.
I would bleed. My voice would bleed onto the strings,
Yeah.
and the whole orchestra was in the studio.
Yeah,
Studio A in New
Take
York.
that
Right.
times 5.
Yes, right.
And, you make
right.
one sound.
Yeah, and you
Oh, yeah.
start from the
One
beginning.
person,
Yep.
one
over
sound.
and over and over and
One
over
note
and over
that's
again.
wrong.
Yep.
It's got to be scrapped.
But
The
the
whole
new, but the
song.
great thing about the old records, excuse me, that we're having this all. The great thing about the old records is that.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Listen, I'm a fan. Go.
Is that
go.
when something didn't go, the strings were less, really offbeat, or
Yeah.
it brings a whole different atmosphere. Everything on digital is so perfect that it becomes
too perfect.
unfriendly.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's not warm anymore. And our stuff, when you listen to it, it's warm. It really is. Yeah, the vinyl. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Let's go back to my.
Everybody just got a flashback.
But as I as I wrote in my book, maybe my memoirs, which is in the gift shop, maybe took
Perfectly plugged. Perfectly plugged.
maybe
Well done.
took 52 takes in the
Yes.
one little room
Yes.
with all of the orchestra and the
Yes.
singers in one little room. It's much smaller than this room. And 52 times, by the time we sang the last take of Maybe, which is what you guys love, we were in tears. We were hungry. We wanted to, can we have some French fries? You know,
That's true.
what do you mean do it again? You know what I mean? What do you mean do it again? We were crying singing that song. I guess that's why it came out so great and why you love it, right?
That's why it was believable.
Well, and
Yes.
I think it's fair to say, and I don't know about anyone else, but the songs that the Chantels are singing are in the original key. And so even for me, at my age, and I'm 25, no, but even for me at my age to take a deep breath and hit Maybe, if you've ever tried to sing it, and I've talked to some singers that have tried, Maybe falls on just this really sweet spot in the break. That May part, when it comes out, it's so easy for it to slide up or slide down. It's this really sweet spot. So easier to hit when you're 13, not so much when you get to this age. Original keys, everything is in its original key.
Yes, Don. Please.
And with Motown, they had a whole system. They had a whole organization, a machine. They had wardrobe. They had etiquette. They had everything that made the whole artist come together. Yes, Charlie Atkins.
Yes, I
Yes.
remember. You knew Charlie
Maxine
too?
Powell. And so,
Oh my God, that Charlie Atkins was a, oh my God.
Choreographer, believe it or not.
yes.
Yeah, he choreographed.
Charlie Atkins, yeah.
Wow.
He would be
Yeah.
downstairs at the Apollo, and
Yeah.
we would go there, and he'd have us so swaying.
Oh my God,
A lot of our movements, even today, and we don't do all of them, but all of this is Charlie Atkins. The move, the attitude, you know?
Yes. Right, right.
But that also is what creates, I think, bringing that back around. That's what creates the sound, you know, to Peggy's point and to all of your points in that moment.
Yes.
You create a sound and a feeling and an emotion that goes with your music because there's not a detachment from it. You are attached to it. You have an
Right.
emotional reaction. You have,
Right.
and for a lot of your music, because it has been around for a few years, it also has soundtracks of people's lives in them. So it takes you to a point in your career or your life or your love life or whatever it is where you go, oh my gosh, that song, whew, that was the, you know, there's been babies made to your music, right? I mean, that is a thing. That is a thing. You know, a 13 or 14-year-old singing "I Will Follow Him." You know, it doesn't.
I had no idea
Yeah,
what I
right,
was
exactly. Like, who are you following and where are you going? Like, you know. And really interestingly, and I will say this, we do, as Star Vista Live, we do a 50s cruise, 50s, 60s, this one. We also do our 60s Woodstock style cruise, I'm here for that. We do a 70s rock and romance, we do a disco, we do a soul train, we do lots of different cruises. Some folks have been on multiple. We do lots of different cruises. And one of the most interesting things to me every single year is, even though the Malt Shop and Country Cruise technically are our oldest based cruises, decade-wise, we have more Malt Shop artists than we do a lot of the other cruises. Because you are one of the few generations that broke at 14, at 13, at 15. Most of the other generations broke in their 20s or their young 30s. And so now they are actually noticeably older in some ways than our 50s artists. Because you were kids, you were still in school, you were still going to school the next day. You were recording grown-up music at 14 years old.
And that's the thing,
Yes,
we
please.
didn't know the feeling. We hadn't been in love or anything to have the feeling that they were asking us to do. They were asking us to sing like women, you know, like we've been in love and all that. What was that? You know, other than we love our cat, our dog, our mom, our dad, mommy, you know.
But that was what was so beautiful about that Motown machine, because like the Marvelettes, they were like 15, 14 when they started with these songs.
Right.
And but the magic happened because of the combination of that youthful sound along with those masterful writers and producers.
Yes.
So they had the experience, the life experience, and you know, attached to that, to those young voices, and it was magical. You know, it was magical. So yeah, that was very important.
They all came together and voted on every song as it was written. If this was a hit, yes. Is that the right key for the hit? Should it be up a half step or down a half step? They really thought it through. And
They,
the Motown machine.
it's what they call the Motown machine.
And
the whole
that
collective.
was Barry Gordy,
Yeah, RCA
Smokey
was
Robinson,
okay.
all of the writers, and a lot of the artists. They all voted in a room.
And
on,
musicians.
And
So
musicians,
the Funk Brothers.
yes. They all came together in a group,
But it
and
was
they
great you
voted
had a
on
team.
whether or not it was a
really
hit.
super. You had the team
Yeah, the
backing
team was
you up.
beneficial.
It was
Yeah.
yeah, but it was wonderful.
I just want to say something about
I noticed it because, like I said, RCA didn't have that kind of a team.
Oh, no. We
No.
didn't, in the 50s, they were well organized.
Yes, they
There was
were.
no organization like that. It's time to do the record, learn the song, and get this done.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
it. It's getting out. Nobody knows.
Well, and Sonia, tell
No.
them who your costume designers were. Who were
Bob
who-
Mackey, tell
no,
me.
who were your costume designers?
My mama.
Your mom.
Mom was doing that.
Beyonce's mother was making all her
Yeah,
costumes.
exactly.
Right.
I remember we had a strapless gown, and we were too young to wear strapless gowns. So Mrs. Goring, Sonia's mom, no, they have to have straps on the gowns. They can't show their shoulders like that.
Those shoulders. Something here.
Now moms are taking the straps off of their kids' dresses. Right. Show more. We'd like you to break. We'd like you to break. Show more.
But you know, I just want to say
Yes, ma'am.
the time that we had, these times, and you guys are Motown, totally different. Atmosphere, everything, the people, the thinking, how records are being put out, how much money, and it was really crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't want to bring this conversation into a direction that's not enjoyable. But out of curiosity, certainly for those of you that were there, how much more challenging was it to be a woman than to be a
We
man?
weren't women.
That was not
Or a girl, a female.
That wasn't the thought. That wasn't the
Wasn't
thought
your thought.
because after we came off of a tour of Alan Freed, we couldn't even go home. We were dragged right to the studio.
Yeah.
And most of the time, we learned those songs on the spot.
Ugh.
And many people don't know that we created our own harmony ourselves. No one taught us a note, not a note. And we did it mostly a cappella because there were no pianos around. You know, no one knew what we wanted, you know. They gave Arlene the song, and we had to come up with the background, and Arlene was included in the creation. So it was really a beautiful process, beautiful friendship, showed how much love we had for
Well,
each
this
other.
is what makes you different.
Crying, please.
This is what makes all your sounds different, is because you created it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is who you are, which is
But
great.
being the first, being the firsts, right?
I just.
I think I can say from a business standpoint, they weren't necessarily protected in the ways that you might expect. The adults in the spaces did take the writing credit.
course.
And
It's
when
unfortunate.
taking co-writing credit or arrangement credit, when
Yes.
you're writing your own harmonies, that is writing the song.
Yeah,
so to not
absolutely.
receive credit for that for 60 years is
No.
also emotional as
Oh,
you
believe me.
unpack the stories of it all. Right?
You know, I like to say, in terms of that and women being recognized and it being difficult, that still goes on today.
I was just gonna say, that
Yeah.
is
There are
Sure.
some people who I know who had music out in the 70s, and they were in the same group, some of them, where there was a woman and a man, and those songs became hits, and the woman still to this day
Yeah.
still doesn't get acknowledged, credit. Yeah, exactly. So I think in terms of women having the difficulties in the business, you know, we still have to fight for a lot of what we
And it's the
get.
same thing as far as pay.
And pay.
Yeah.
We're low on the pay scale because we're women.
I've had the honor of sitting with Darlene Love many times doing these
yeah.
interviews, and Darlene has spoken, you know, in much deeper with her knowledge and her experience directly, you know, especially when 20 Feet from Stardom, when that documentary came out, you know, and they really started to delve into, you don't even recognize, they started to blend women's voices, and they just stole your voice. And so Darlene is featured
can
on
do
songs.
that now, too.
They can now, absolutely. You know, absolutely. But that is crazy to me that, you know,
Yeah.
the Crystals had great hits and Darlene had great, but they're just
No.
titled as to who was hit and hot at the time, so you don't even know vocally who's singing sometimes. And
Right.
You don't hear about that as much with the men of the time. You hear about it a lot with the women
Yes.
of the time. And, not to bring up any evil names or names that aren't well recognized, but like, you start getting into the Phil Spectors and things like that had, a very different effect on music. And
Yeah,
it changed
two different
music, yeah.
Did you guys have guardians who watched over you? Other
Yes,
than a
we had
mother?
to have a chaperone.
Did you? Oh, chaperone, but a
and
guardian?
a tutor.
And a tutor.
Tutors.
Oh, you had tutors. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not
But
easy.
I did have a guardian who was legally appointed and took everything.
Oh,
Everything. I
Our
finally
record
had to go to
company did
court
that.
at 18 to get rid of him,
Oh.
and not before that.
Yeah.
Guardian, legal,
who was it? How did that get appointed to you? How do you get a legal
court.
through court?
Pennsylvania has a Coogan law, which was made after Jackie Coogan because his parents stole all his money, took all his money, spent all his money. So in Pennsylvania, they decided. California had it, Pennsylvania had it. Why Pennsylvania, I have no idea. But in any case, because I was a minor, I had to be appointed a guardian. And this guardian had access to everything I made. Someone asked me recently, well, how much was that? I have no idea.
You weren't even privy to that
Oh,
information.
no. I never had
'Cause
any
then
money
you'd know
in
what
my
was
hand.
taken.
Well, sure. So I had nothing in my hand. I was never given any money. His wife was getting $100 a week. I was not. So when I wanted to buy something, my mother bought my underwear. I mean, really. So it was a different time, but it was allowed because the court was in on it. His lawyer was in on it. Everybody was in on it but me. So I finally went to court. I then moved to New York and then met my husband. It's another story altogether. But this was the law. It was the law, and I was supposed to be protected, and I wasn't. As a minor, right? This is why I never went on the Dick Clark tours, because I was the only one that was that young that wasn't part of a group. I was by myself.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't want him because he would have probably not allowed this or that or the other thing. But anyway.
And I think there's
It's an error.
probably no, please.
To clarify, you were talking about legal guardianship.
A legal guardian,
finances,
absolutely.
And that individual that could control everything.
Yes.
The Chantels had a different type of guardian, right? Last night my mom told the audience, I think it was Sonia or Lois that told the audience about being locked in their dressing room because they were the youngest, right? They had different type of protection, and as being young black
It's
women
not better, it's
on
just
the,
what it
Chitlin
was.
circuit in the South,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, and they got
So-
away with it. They
so
really did
were-
for
they-
years. and
Different
years and
type of
years.
guardian, and I believe, am I right? These are by bedtime stories when I was young.
Sure.
But one of your moms was
Always
always with you everywhere you went when you traveled. One of their moms always would leave work to be
Yeah,
with
my mother
them.
was not allowed.
And we was
Not
very,
allowed.
very, very protected. Very protected. You know.
And
It's fascinating how it differs. It's like, Peggy keeps hearing things and going, I didn't have that.
No, I didn't have that.
And it's interesting because it is educational, right? How each group, the Motown machine has its own, and then the Chantels have their own, and then Peggy, you have your. It's interesting how each group, from relatively the same time frame, give or
Yes, it
take,
was.
a small period, has such a different experience about who's allowed, who's not allowed, who's.
The nice thing is we all lived and we all still exist. And we're all
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah.
Pick up those
And this is a wonderful thing.
Amen.
So he went to hell, I know he did. There's no doubt. My mother sent, when he died, my mother sent the obit and said, finally, on that.
I mean, that's understandable.
She had
That's
no say
understandable.
in my early career at all. And yes, see? Yes.
It's kind of wild, isn't it? Yeah, it's wild.
It is.
It is.
Sure.
It is wild.
I think I just want to
No,
say
no, you're good.
thank you all for sharing. Again, as the new one on the panel, I learn a lot, and I'm sure you all are learning a lot. But thank you for letting us hold your stories, and hold your history. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, when you talk about the soundtrack of life,
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
our big sisters' songs were the soundtrack of our lives too.
Sure.
I mean, who would have never thunk it, singing in our parents' basement for me, looking in the mirror, singing the same songs that, we're singing now to, with the, for the Marvelettes, because now we're the Marvelettes that Catherine Anderson Schaffner would not only allow us into that and her family, but she graced the stage, or we graced the stage with her. She allowed us, and she did tell us lots of stories and experiences. We can't tell them all because she would tell some pretty
I'm
deep
sure.
ones we can't sit up here and
Oh, no.
talk about. But it's very heartwarming. It's like a miracle, something you would never expect to happen to you. You wouldn't have thought about it then. I know I didn't.
Sure.
And till this day, speaking of what women had to go through, till this day they still have not been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
We have not either.
And
No,
so
I don't
yeah.
think anyone here, right? I don't
No,
think
we've
it-
been nominated.
You've been
Two
nominated.
nominations, 3 nominations.
The Sean,
We still do
You
it.
too?
you're nominated for a Grammy, but you didn't make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet.
And neither did
Chantels did not either,
Chantels.
nor the Marvelettes.
But
That's
our
crazy.
record is in the Rock
The
and Roll
record,
Hall
yeah.
of Fame.
Which is
And
wild
the
to me.
song is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but we are not. Okay.
Not even your hit song. That's wild to me that you could induct somebody's song or album or record and not actually put the group who sang it, like it just was created. And there's like, well, this is great art. Yeah, but there's an artist somewhere that created it. We don't celebrate just the painting, we celebrate the painter. So why do we not celebrate the singer or the artist that's behind it?
Boggles the mind.
Guys, there are
Yes.
lots of stories to be told.
Oh,
And hopefully the artists of today, as things change, because we're definitely in the middle of a change, hopefully things will be better for them as far as being able to have the recognition for their artwork that they deserve, as well as those who've paved the way, like the Marvelettes and the Chantels, to be able to get all the recognition that they do deserve, because it had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And all of the people, there's a lot of people out there who may not even know. They're singing the song and they don't know what the people, anything about the people who made the song, And
And
so,
an example of that is that Miley Cyrus
yeah.
did Maybe.
Yep.
And she credited Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin credited us for her version of They Really Could Sing the Blues, those Chantels. So Miley had no clue.
Yeah.
She credited to Janis.
Yeah.
We're the ones who gave it, Janis paid homage to us by doing it. So it's just very interesting.
I hope though that there, in some way, shape, or form, you're still able to take some, knowing the reality and the BS behind it. I hope you're still able to take some. Gratitude's the wrong word because you don't need to take gratitude. Pride's the word I'm looking for. In the fact that people are doing your music, even if they mess up and don't credit the right people, which is a failure.
What's the funnest part is
It's
when
still
they don't
you.
know, and then they say, wow,
That's it, right, yeah.
Wow.
Now, I loved
You were
hearing
there,
it.
yes.
I loved hearing it on The Voice one day. I said,
Yeah.
oh my God, our song is on it. Our song is on it. Our song is on it.
and in the hip hop arena, Dr. Dre became famous because he mixed Please Mr. Postman with a hip hop, beat. And so that's how he became a well-known entity in hip hop, was because he first used Please Mr. Postman in some of his artwork or his collaboration or mixing as a DJ.
It's interesting you bring that up because I've had multiple artists sit up here and actually we've had that conversation about as much as we may not be collectively overall fans, whether you are or not, but typically speaking on the Malt Shop Cruise, hip hop and rap are not first on the playlist. But the sampling that's going on now in R&B and rap and hip hop and things like that, there's a lot of sampling that's going on. And so all of you have had your music sampled by other artists, and I know hip hop and R&B turned a whole page when they started really going back, Kanye West and Dr. Dre and people that would really dip back and find hooks or melodies or rhythms that they loved and would reawaken. When you have a song covered, when any of you have had your songs covered, do you see a jump in people finding you again, or do people tend to focus on just what's in front of them?
Well, I Will Follow Him when Sister Act was.
Yes,
I got
exactly
a lot
that.
of that. Yes, I got a lot of that. But funny for me was seeing I Wish I Were a Princess, a song that I really do not like. I never did. In any case, I saw it in Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
It's in what is it, segment 13? They're all on the roof and they're having a grand time. Right, and it's also in Hairspray.
Yeah.
I Wish I Were a Princess it established the bitch. It was wonderful. I loved it. I loved it. And I said, wow, this is fun. And people, I didn't know this. People would call me and tell me this. So
We're on the
this was
subject.
cool.
Yeah.
I thought this was really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're on the subject of, groups and mixing hip hop with
Yes, ma'am.
what's been going on over the years. It's just a little tidbit, but someone came and told me that 50 Cent loved the Chantels. 50 Cent loves the Chantels.
And he should.
Who knew?
He should. Everybody should. There's not a
You meet
group
50
on
Cent listening to the Chantels.
But if you're an artist, ideally you can appreciate stuff that even if it's not in your wheelhouse. The great artist can appreciate other people's art, right? You know.
Of course.
Yeah.
And appreciation
I cut you
doesn't
off,
just come from really appreciating the artist and saying something about it, but through residuals
Sure.
of
Oh
that
yeah.
music. That's important too. You know,
Yeah.
that they receive compensation for their works, or someone copying their works or utilizing their works. And I know that was why it was so important that Gladys Horton and our big sister Catherine Anderson Schaffner was able to acquire the rights to their name.
Yeah.
So everything that happens and that comes to everything that we do, we have like a fourth member, because we were graced with Catherine, we were graced with Cat up until a couple of years ago. So yeah, we had a year, one year ago. So we're still a little tender, but we are grateful to have had her mentorship and her friendship. But her daughter, everything gets passed to her, so it's like we have a fourth member. You know, everything that comes to us goes to her.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Split up as if there is another person.
And that's
The sad part, though, about those residuals is that they didn't get anything up until that
yeah.
point.
That
is
was
what
my
you-
next. That was my
yeah.
follow-up.
Oh,
Was exactly.
oh,
No,
okay.
please go. No, go. That was where I was
I mean,
going.
it's very sad. But I'm not going
That's
to
right.
mention any names or anything, but, people take ownership, which is sad. And it's not just with the Marvelettes. It's happened with other people. And
Oh,
it
it's very
still
broad.
happens with
Yeah.
groups today, too. People take ownership of what doesn't belong to them. And they find legal loopholes, contractually and fine print and what have you. Or if you're young, like our big sisters were when they were, and maybe their parents weren't there when things were signed, well, there was no one to even see any fine print. So, and then they found out later what they weren't getting.
It's precisely what Peggy was talking about a minute ago, a legal guardian from nowhere that's not even involved and, is allowed to do what they want. That is, that's one of those things that you look back on in your own way, and I'm sure you have much stronger views, but even as a bystander, as a fan, to look at it and think, it just seems so wrong that it's hard to make sense of it, almost. It seems so common sense, like, how does that not easily get fixed in my mind? Like, how does that not? And then you start to go.
There was nobody there to protect.
Exactly.
In this business, there was nobody there to protect the teenagers that were there. I mean, you might have had a parent, but the parent didn't have the right to say yes or no, or you can't do that, or anything like that. And it depends on what state you lived in.
We had no idea.
Yeah,
That
see?
maybe or all we did was
We
sing.
just wanted to
and
sing.
then
Just sang, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
all we
it,
did was
that's
sing.
it.
We were kids. What do we know about royalties is coming in and how much should be coming in? We were having fun, singing, and that was it.
That's why they came after you all and our big. That's why a lot of people do that too today. Still, like I say,
Well,
they want to go after who
yes.
they feel doesn't know. They don't know. They're young. They're
The vulnerable.
vulnerable.
The vulnerable in whatever way that.
The
that applies.
opportunists, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I will say certainly that even though we're talking about some harsher subjects, I will also bring around though that ultimately the true fans, and I think that's probably where you can find some love and support, and I hope you still do in your careers, right? The true fans know who sang it. The true fans know who performed it. The true fans know who harmonized. The true fans know who wrote or co-wrote or created together. And so as, whether it's your big sisters or whether it is members that are no longer with us, or you are a daughter of a member, or you are a solo member, or a solo artist, your fans know it's you. Your fans know your voice. They know your sound.
There's no hate on this.
Oh, no, I know here. No,
There's-
I know that.
there's-
But
And we were extremely thankful. My God,
Yeah.
he gets to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly. and it was great.
Yeah.
It was wonderful then. It's wonderful now. The fact that we didn't always get compensated for what we were doing, I don't think
It's
we
criminal.
cared. Well, it is criminal.
It's criminal, but it's not
But
a
I
knock on
didn't
you as an
care
artist. Yeah.
at that
All
time.
I know is that I am working, we're all working, and we're working very hard, but then we get this call. You girls have to sing. And it's like someone sprinkled little sawdust.
Little fairy dust.
And we perk up and we become princesses again. And that makes us very happy. And
No, no.
But on the good news, on YouTube, there are young people who are playing our songs,
Yes, ma'am.
all about groups, and they just are so flabbergasted because they have no idea that music sounded like it does. And they talk about it and they say, listen to that, and listen to that line. And did you hear what she did? And I'm sitting there, this is 2024, and these kids are discovering us all over again.
These brand new artists. Maybe you don't know who the Chantels are, but they just broke. Yeah.
Sometimes they may not remember the name,
Absolutely, yeah.
but like a conversation I had for something that we needed recently, I said, "But well, have you heard of the Marvelettes?" No, I'm sorry. What about Mr. Puzzle? Oh yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
So,
Well, you know, Motown left such a stamp on the city of Detroit that a lot of the youngsters, as soon as I say, well, I sing with the Marvelettes, oh, you do? I know who they are. Especially it's a few, the hip-hop artists or the artists coming up, they understand about it because it's still extremely a strong history for the city of Detroit. And so a lot of the youngsters in Detroit definitely know who the Marvelettes are. Yeah.
I have a statement that I use, or a saying that I use on every cruise that we do, that there are times, to your exact point, sometimes you don't know who sang the song, but you know the song. And my statement for almost all the cruises that we do is there's nothing like hearing the person that sang the song sing the song. You know what I mean? Like, not to move up, but like the first time we had Chubby Checker and I saw Chubby Checker do the twist, right? There are magical moments when, hearing all of your songs, your biggest hits that most people, remember you. Everybody remembers Postman. Everybody remembers Maybe and I Will Follow Him. And, when you hear the person or the people singing it, that sang it. There is something so unique to that. And there is an acceptance and there is a forgiveness because maybe the voice isn't or wasn't, or something's changed or it's harder on a ship. No one cares. Nobody cares because it's you. It's you. And that's what means everything. With all due respect, we have fabulous tribute artists to those that we can no longer get for a variety of reasons. Of course, the tributes are always going to be important to us, but there's still nothing like hearing the man or woman sing the song that sang the song.
Yes.
And that's, I attribute that to you. I credit you for it.
As long as we stay alive, it's cool.
Yeah, as long as you're still here, we don't have a tribute to little Peggy March. Yeah.
And we were blessed to be able to work with Bobby Rydell before
We love
he
Bobby.
passed. And he would give us gems of knowledge and all types of things. And we just really loved him. And it's an experience that you can't take away. I'll remember those experiences for the rest of my life. And Lou Christie is someone that we always work with as well. And so those guys, I mean, they love us. They welcome us in with open arms, and we really appreciate all of them. And we'll always remember Bobby Rydell, and it's just a wonderful thing to be able to work with those people.
I think that's another compliment to the era, to a certain aspect. It's there's always going to be selfish artists no matter what the era. That's going to happen no matter what. But I think with certain artists you have a little bit more big brother, big sister.
Generosity.
The time,
Yes.
yeah. There's that desire to help continue. There's that desire to help the legacy and the music and the artists. So I'm really glad you guys got. You mentioned two names that are well known at on this cruise that have sailed with us many times. They're family members here as well. And I do have to say, I know we've kept you way over the time we were supposed to keep you, and I'm sorry for that, but you ladies are fantastic. You're just wonderful. Do me a favor, everybody. We can get louder than that. These are three legends. Some fabulous, legendary solo artists. The Marvelettes, the Chantels, and the fabulous little Peggy March. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.